Hi everyone, it's Paola. So I am back and I am excited because today I'm doing a Q&A. So basically, I've been getting so many messages on my Instagram and my comments, and I'm so excited about that because I love talking to you guys and we're really growing and there's just so many people now to talk to, but it's kind of getting overwhelming because there's just so many different specific questions. But I thought it would be a lot more beneficial to do this in video format because I'm sure if one person has a question, then probably like 5 other people had that same question. So I put out to ask me questions for graphic design and art related things, and you guys delivered because I knew you would because you're great. And so now we're just gonna have a cool discussion, and this is going to be really helpful for everyone. So I got all my questions on my phone here, and yes, my last video I had a different phone and then I randomly went and upgraded my phone, so fancy. Side note, I'm also very excited that I am doing a Q&A video because when I first started YouTube, it was like one of my dreams. When I would watch other people's Q&As, I would be like, oh, I wish I had followers who would talk to me and ask me things. And now here I am. So I'm so happy. I'm so grateful that you guys are talking to me. I'm so glad we have this community. Subscribe if you're not part of the community yet. Ring the bell so you can get notified when I upload. So the first 2 questions are both from Sophia. I thought I would answer them at the same time. So hi Sophia. And she says, how do you find inspiration and what kind of topics do you enjoy exploring? If I can read, this is gonna be a rough video. So I get a lot of my inspiration from looking at Pinterest and looking at a lot of art books. So on Pinterest, there's just so many cool photos and links to designers and artists that are posting, and I repost a lot of that stuff just to get inspiration on the daily. If you aren't following me, check out my Pinterest below. And when I look at inspiration, it really helps me decide what kind of topics I like to explore with my design. So I like to look at a lot of art history, contemporary artists. That's why I look through books. This book is Graphic Design 1960 to Today, and it's really inspirational to look through all the photos. And then I take a lot of inspiration from contemporary artists and designers and a lot of those feminist themes. And yeah, I'm just always looking for new topics to explore, and art history really helps me. Okay, so this next question is a little wild to me. It's I'd love to hear about your experience with finding a job. My experience is currently happening, so I don't know how much advice I can give, but I can tell you just my personal experience. I'm on the job hunt right now. I'm doing YouTube at the same time, which at some points I'm like, should I just pursue this and just do YouTube? But I am looking for a job currently, and I'm looking to move out of state. So right now it's kind of all up in the air, and it is hard to find a job when you are not in the place that you want to be. So I've been thinking that I might get up and move in the next few months. That's the first time saying it now to all of you guys, which is crazy. I might just get up and move so it could be easier for me to find a job, easier for me to pursue this YouTube thing. It's a lot, but finding a job is hard. It just takes a lot of patience and a lot of dedication. I'm applying to jobs always. I applied to 2 jobs just this morning before I started filming. I find what I can and I apply. I'm not picky at all. I just want to go to a new place, and specifically a certain place. I'm not going to talk about it yet because I don't want to jinx anything, but yeah, it's hard, but you just have to persevere and be relentless in your search for a job, and I think you'll find something. I think once you are applying, it's only a matter of when. So this question says, is it bad that I'm a transfer student to a school for graphic design and I'll technically be a senior by then? So I'm not really sure if you mean you'll only be in a program just taking a few classes and you'll be a senior, you'll be graduating soon, or if you're actually going to a school for graphic design even though you've been in school for a long time. Either one I think is okay. I don't think it's a bad thing that you're transferring to a school to do graphic design. And sometimes school takes a little bit longer for some people than it does for others. I know a lot of people who have taken their time with school, and that's totally fine. And if graphic design is something you want to do, take your time at it and really study, and you'll be great. So I got a couple of questions about my favorite art and design channels on YouTube. And I just want to say, first of all, I am my own favorite channel. And that's the real tea. You can quote me on that. But I watch Charlie Marie TV because she is one of the only other girls who's doing something that like I'm doing, like graphic design, online design, but she really focuses on web design and like user experience stuff, which I'm really not good at. So I watch her for a lot of helpful tips, and if you're into that, you can watch her. And I like that we have kind of both aspects of this field of study on YouTube. So it's pretty cool. So definitely check out her. And I would say that's like the only channel I watch that's like that. I don't watch a ton of design channels because there really aren't any that are so relatable. So It's Just JC asked, was going to college for graphic design worth it? I think it was. I had a great time in school, in design school, in all my classes, and I think it did help me now coming into the job market in knowing what I want to do and knowing that I can do it and feeling very capable. But I know some people say you don't have to go to college. I think it is really beneficial if you want to do something like this because you have to get trained in not only the programs but in design. And it's, I don't know, maybe I'm a purist, but I think it is really beneficial to go to school for graphic design. Is it necessary? No, but I think it is really, really helpful. And It's Just JC also asked, what jobs are out there for graphic designers that pay good money? And the answer to this might surprise you. Graphic designers are actually paid very, very well. Graphic design jobs do pay pretty well considering a lot of jobs that start out, like your salary would not be high at all. The graphic design salaries start a little bit higher than a lot of different jobs, like as a starting point. So it is a really good career to get into, but at the same time, when you work at smaller studios and stuff like that, you might have to get paid less and work a little more if you want to like grow with a really small team. It just depends on what kind of job you want to. So it's like if you're doing like UX design, you might get paid more. If you're doing like graphic design for a big company, you might get paid more. But if you're doing something for a small studio or you're a freelancer, you might get paid a little less. So it just depends on what you want to do and how hard you want to work. But it is a great, great career to go into money-wise, because when you work at a big company, at any kind of like corporate company, you'll get paid pretty well. So this next question is from Adriana. Hi. So you said that you have a few fonts that you are using in your portfolio and your website, and you don't know anything about like the licensing. So I thought this would be a great thing to talk about, because if you're using fonts online or in your portfolio, you might have questions about if you can use them legally. And the answer is yes. So with personal projects and stuff like that, you definitely can use any font you want, because with fonts and your personal projects, they're not things that you're selling. If you are selling them, you might get into a little bit of trouble with what you can do with the different licensing agreements, but most of the ones on Adobe and in your computer are already okayed, so you can use them. And then with your personal projects, it's totally fine to use because you're not using them for any monetary gain, or you're not like trying to pass them off as your own, especially if you credit what you used in your projects on your portfolio, you'll totally be fine. I use so many different things. Like I've used images too in my portfolio, and I just write like this is a student project if it was, because that really shows that you're just using it for educational purposes. Or I'll write like images are all owned by this company. So you just have to make sure you're crediting properly. And if you're using it just for a personal thing, then there's no problem with the font. Now this question says, how do I start building a portfolio for college applications? Now, I have a few videos on this. I really like talking about getting ready for college and preparing your portfolio. I have 2 portfolio videos. I have a few videos on what it's like to go to art school, stuff like that. So I think those will be helpful for you. I've linked them below. But I think to start building a portfolio for college, you just have to start. You just have to start making things you think will be great for the application. I also got a few questions on what my favorite art tools and supplies were, so I'm gonna share. So these are my Micron pens. So Micron pens are the best graphic design tool. Like, I use them for every project I do, and I use them to write in all my notebooks, and I just use them all the time. Micron pens are my favorite kind of pen for designers. And I don't know if you've noticed, I had a green one on my desk and now I have a clear one. So now I have two little self-healing cutting mats. These are my favorite thing. They're so helpful, and at every graphic design like program at a school, they'll have big ones of these, and I got myself like mini ones because I use them so much. You'll use them with every print project that you ever need to do, and you can use an X-Acto knife on this and it doesn't ruin it. So definitely a self-healing cutting mat. I will link below where you can get one. And other than that, I really don't use that much. I use like paper from Michaels or Blick. I have way too much different kinds of paper, tracing paper, Bristol board, and then I just use the Adobe programs. So Sammy asked best graphic design process tips. So I kind of have a lot. Now my brain is kind of going crazy, but so when I'm doing logo design or a rebrand of something, I like to go through so many different iterations of things, and I have learned, and this is probably my best tip to you, is to start by hand with basically everything you do. And I am a big fighter of that, and every professor I've ever had has been like, you need to start out like this, like you need to do it because it's good for you. And they knew how much it frustrated me, and trust me, it helps so much. When I made a typeface, I started out by hand. When I made a redesign for a brand, I started out by hand. When I just was thinking about making a book, I would start out by drawing out all these little like thumbnail sketches of the book and how I wanted the overall layout to look. So all of that helps so much. That is my best tip I can give you. And then from there, that's when you start going through all your iterations of everything. So you go through, oh, do I like this like in this way, or do I like it this direction? Or you go, do I like this in this color? Do I like it in this color? And you compare, and you just keep going until you've come up on your final piece. And honestly, so helpful, and the best thing that I could give you is that piece of advice. And I know you asked for small fun projects, and also thank you for loving my work, but I will be doing like more small projects as videos, so I thought it would be cooler to just do it that way instead of just talk about it. And another question that has to do with my process said, how do you usually do research and how do you brainstorm? So with my brainstorming, I like to look at a lot of inspiration photos, and I like to write down a lot of themes and topics that I want to do, but I really start with a strong idea, like a really strong concept, and then I can sort of base that theme off of it. To me, it kind of takes a minute for me to warm up, so sometimes I start really slowly and I think, oh, am I ever gonna do this? But then once I get that idea, I just can roll with it, and again, doing all the iterations. Once I just get all my thoughts out first in a brainstorm, so I just write everything down, and then I can start working. So Kenzie on YouTube asked, what advice do you have for people who want to start graphic design on their own and not go to school for it? So like I said before, I think school is very beneficial, but I also said it's not necessary, and I really believe that. I think anyone can be a graphic designer. I think you just need to work hard. You need to learn the programs. If you're not going to go to school, you have to take the time to do it on your own. And that can be a challenge, but I mean, school is a challenge too. Schools are hard, and working on your own is hard. So like, there are so many different aspects to whatever choice you make, and I don't think that not going to college should stop you from wanting to do what you want to do. You just have to work hard and learn graphic design on your own and in your own way. So Megan on YouTube asked, do you have a specific field you wanted to enter after graduating, or were you open to all aspects of the graphic design field? And this was also part of another question that I got on Instagram, so I'll kind of answer it here how I decided to do what I wanted to do when graphic design has so much possibility in it. So I basically wanted to work at a magazine when I was younger, and I said I want to work for a fashion magazine. Then I discovered that you'd have to study graphic design for that. So I said, okay, I'll do it. And it was kind of like a done deal for me. Then I went through college and I realized that graphic design is huge and you can do literally anything with it, and there's so many possibilities. That excited me. It didn't really overwhelm me, but now that I am looking in the job world, the job market, it is a little overwhelming. And I think toward the end of school, I really brought my focus back together and said, yeah, I want to work for a magazine. Like, that is the ultimate goal. But I'm not going to be unhappy in another role for the time being. Does that make sense? So I am open to doing anything in graphic design. I know my skills, I know what I'm good at, so I know what kind of jobs I should be applying to, but I know that my ultimate goal is to work in a magazine, and that's still what I want to do. And if I don't end up doing that, I'm not going to be unhappy. I'm going to be happy doing whatever in graphic design, because I know that that overall is my true passion. In graphic design, it is a little bit hard to decide what you want to do, but I think you have to decide what you're really good at and where you feel the most passionate, and just roll with it. So this question was a little interesting, I thought. It said, any parallels that you've noticed when it comes to the study of design and life in general? Design and life kind of go hand in hand. Design is influenced by life and the culture around it, and that is why so many different design trends come and go. And you can definitely see it when you look through the history of graphic design. And I think that's why I love art history so much too. It's just, you can always see what was happening in the world and how it influenced the art. And I think that is where those two things kind of intersect. So it's an interesting question. I don't know if I have all the answers, but so this question, we're almost to the end, says, how do I make a portfolio with just poster design only? So this is an interesting question that I feel like I've been getting a lot in a way, like, how can you have a portfolio without a lot of diversity in it? And I think that you can. I think a portfolio can be anything that you do. It's your specialty. So if you only do poster design, or if you're an artist and you only paint, like, obviously you can just put that in your portfolio. Like, that is your portfolio, that is your work. So I don't think it's a bad thing to not have a ton of diversity. If you're applying to a school, I think that is where it comes in. Like, it's a little harder because they want to see a range of projects and what you can do. But if you do poster design and you want to do poster design in your job, that's perfect. You're showing exactly what you want to do. And I got another question about applying with your portfolio into school and how hard it is. And honestly, I have a lot of videos on applying to school and stuff like that. So I feel like all those links that I have below will be really helpful for you. And the last question I'm going to read says, is programming and coding part of studying graphic design? So in your college experience, you might have classes that cover that. It just depends on what kind of school you go to. So my graphic design program didn't really have a lot of coding or programming. That was more for like a different major, and I wasn't really interested in going to take that class, so I didn't take the time to take it. But I did take a class that had to do with a little bit of animation. It touched on web design, and we do touch on that. It can be really beneficial. For me, I just am not very good at it. We did a little bit of coding in my class and I just didn't enjoy it very much. So if you're nervous about it, don't be, because you won't have that much, but you can take it if you really want to, because the classes are there, the options are there. It just might not be specifically graphic design classes. Okay, so that was the Q&A. I know it probably took forever, but I feel like this is the best way to answer everybody and have a good long discussion about graphic design and art. So hopefully you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe if you're not, and leave me a comment if you have another question. So I will see you in my next video, and yeah, bye. Oh, okay, now I need to go rest because I feel like I'm getting sick, so fun.